Okay, guys, you are going to need the following. You're going to need your foldable. You can use the pack of markers that are in your basket, or just you're going to need two colors out of here. Don't make them dark. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the yellow and the green. Both are light enough. And then I have paper over here to do some work. So you're going to need the following: your foldable, your two colors. They can be color pencils, they could be crayons, and a sheet of paper. So please make sure you have those. So pause me to go get your stuff that you need. And we're going to look at multiplying and dividing and adding and subtracting decimals. Adding and subtracting we're going to start off that they're the easiest. So I'm going to come over here on my sheet of paper and I'm going to show you how to do them. I'm just going to pick two random numbers. I'm going to pick 1.57 plus 2.3. And the first part about adding and subtracting decimals is you have to line up the decimals. So I'm going to put 2.3 right here, and then I'm going to add 1.57. Now, you should have had basic knowledge in fourth grade with Mr. Smith, but in case you didn't, these decimals have to line up. So there is no spot right here. I can always add my 0. And when I do that, this is the most common mistake kids make on the EOG is they don't line up the decimals. They do this, 2.3 plus 1.57. They line up the numbers. Because in younger grades, you're taught just to line up the numbers. You can't do that in upper grades. You're going to get a wrong answer. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to add them. And then you're going to bring down your decimal. This is a very easy concept, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Just make sure that you line up your decimals. Same thing when you're talking about a subtraction problem. Say we take 3 minus 1.83. This always throws them every single time. So take a moment, write this down on your sheet of paper. You notice there's no decimals here when I'm subtracting. And you're like, where do I put my decimal? Well, your decimal is right here, right after that whole number. So I'm going to line up once again my whole number. This is not going to be 8.3. You have placeholders here, so you're going to have to add your zeros. And when you do that, 0 minus 3 is not 3. You're going to have to borrow. I'm hoping that you can borrow without a problem. And I went straight over to my 3 to borrow all of these. 10 minus 3 is now 7. 9 minus 8 is 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. Now I bring down my decimal. So when you're working with a whole number minusing a decimal, please make sure that you add the two zeros and you subtract. Once again, it's very, very basic. So we're going to look at the first 3 problems because they're just basic with adding. And so I'm going to line them up. And I'm going to give you a minute. And you can see how I've lined them up, that there's going to be an empty spot right here, but you're going to have to add the 0. So take a moment, add those up, type it into Edpuzzle, please. Same thing here, 1.06 plus 0.07. I lined up my decimals. Once again, take a moment, add it into your Edpuzzle. Okay, question 3. 1.8 minus 0.9. I lined up my decimals. Make sure you bring your decimal down when you are working. So take a moment and solve that. It's pretty simple. And here is where it gets a little bit complicated when we're talking about the area model with multiplication and when we're talking about multiplication. So I'm going to come over here into my notes and I'm going to show you how to multiply decimals. I'm just going to choose random numbers. So I'm going to do 1.2 times 3. It's not the one that's on the brochure, but it will help us. We are multiplying just like normal. So you're going to take 3 times 2, which is 6, and 3 times 3, which is 3. Now, what my kids last year got kick out of, and every time, you can't just bring down your decimals. In this case, you could, but you can't just bring down your decimals all the time. We call these alien butt cheeks. And yes, I'm probably hearing giggling right now if you're listening to this. But alien butt cheeks is something you'll never forget to do. It only applies with multiplying, and it only applies with dividing. So you're with decimals. So don't stress about it. You're going to come over here and you're going to add one spot. You're going to count your humps. And since your decimal is here, I'm only going to go one spot here. Okay, so then I'm going to try another one. I'm going to try it 1.54 times 1.2. Now, some kids will stress over lining up these decimals. You're multiplying, you're not adding, you're not subtracting. You don't have to line up these decimals, which is why people get confused. Because at one point you do, and at another point you don't. So what you're going to do is you're going to you're going to multiply like we've been doing. Ignore the decimals for right now. So take a moment. Take 2 times 4, 8. 2 times 5, which is 10. Trade your 1. 2 times 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. Come down here and put a 0 because now you're in the tens place. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. You're going to treat it like a regular multiplication problem. And you're going to add them up. But here is where the multiplication of the decimals comes in place. This is where you're going to count your butt cheeks. You can't just bring it straight down because they don't line up. You're like, well, where do I put them? When you do this, you count your butt cheeks. 1, 2. I have 2 humps to that spot. And then I have 1 more here. So that's 3. 1, 2. I have 3 butt cheeks. That means I have to come down here and go 1, 2, 3. So now my butt cheeks is here. So my new answer is 0.448. Okay. What you're going to do now, we're going to come over here and look at this one. And don't worry about these blocks right here for right now. I'm just going to set it up as 3 times 0.4. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to go 4 times 3 is 12. Trade your 1. There's nothing there. 12. You knew 4 times 3 was, but here's where the decimal comes into place. There is 1 alien butt cheek, meaning the answer is 1.2. Okay, so we're not going to use this over here because when they made this, they didn't give us enough blocks because it won't accurately represent what we need to do here. So don't worry about these blocks. You can cross these blocks out here. They're null and void anyways. Okay, and then we're going to look at question number 5. I want you to take a moment. I want you to try 0.5 times 0.8. Type in what you think you get. You know that 5 times 8 is 40, but your answer should not be 40. Your answer, because you had to count your alien butt cheeks, is 0.4 or 0.40. Now here's where the markers comes in place because they actually did give us the right amount. So what you're going to do, this is 0.5, so that's half of this. I'm going to color down 5, only 5 tens. So if you'll notice that I'm coloring down 5 of those. So take a moment and color that in with your first color, 5 of those. Actually, I'm going to use a different color. I'm going to use orange. And then what I'm going to do here, once you've colored in 5 of those, now you're going to work the opposite direction. You've colored vertically. Now you're going to color horizontally, and you're going to color in 8 of them, 10 places. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5, there's 6, there's 7, there's 8. Take a moment and finish coloring that in.